Alright, man. MMA's been kind of slow lately, so let's just dive into some hot takes y'all been dropping. The first one up is, can DC beat a triple champ if he cut to middleweight? Now, at first, it sounds like pure fantasy booking. The dude was already killing it at heavyweight, and then he moved down to 205 and took that belt. But believe it or not, this actually has some backing. I think back in 2014, the guy's name was Mike Doles. He was like this big weight cutting coach. Literally said that DC could make 185 without losing performance. He thought DC might even get faster and stronger down there. Now that's crazy to think about it. Now, obviously there's a catch. DC's Olympic weight cut is legendary for how bad it went. I mean, he wrecked his kidneys trying to get down to 211 pounds. That's scary. So asking him to even go lower into the middleweight division could have been dangerous. But this is a hot take, right? So let's just imagine if Cormier could do it. Man, if Cormier could show up at 185, I honestly think he wrecks most of the guys from that era. Chris Weidman, dead. Probably like outbox him, outgrapple him. Luke Rockhold's chin would have got touched in the clinch, knocked out in the first round. DC would have folded him up. He would have destroyed Michael Bisping. He would have ragdolled him. And the more I think about that matchup, it was actually a really bad matchup. Even Yoel Romero, who's explosive and scary, I think DC's pressure and gas tank would have won him that fight late. The only guy I see him giving problems is Robert Whittaker. Rob's movement, his speed, the ability to stay on his bike would be tricky. But even then, if DC cornered him, that wrestling and clinch game is just different. I'd probably still lean in DC in that matchup. The next take we have is Islam Makhachev is going to lose his next 2 or 3 fights in the UFC. Man, that's a wild one. I get where people are coming from because this matchup's been thrown around right now. Aren't exactly light work, let's be honest. If he jumps to 170, which, let's be honest, he is, he's facing Jack Della Maddalena first. Yeah, that's already a dangerous fight. JDM's boxing is sharp, his jab is mean, and he's one of those guys who doesn't need a ton of space to find your chin. If Islam drops that one, suddenly the narrative changes overnight. People will start saying, oh, he's overrated. He can't hang at welterweight. And you know the internet likes to run with stuff. But let's just go a bit deeper, because if Islam were to lose to JDM and decide, okay, let me go back to lightweight and prove myself again, the first guy waiting for him down there is Ilia Topuria. That's not exactly a soft landing spot. Topuria's style is literally chaos in a bottle. Explosive power in both hands, killer instinct, and if he catches Islam clean, especially after a tough loss, yeah, it could be lights out. And that's where you can get that scary 2-fight losing streak scenario people are imagining. And then legacy talk starts shifting fast when you lose back-to-back fights. But here's the part I don't fully buy into. I don't think it's that realistic. Islam is too good, too disciplined, and too experienced to just unravel like that. People forget, man, that the man has been dominating for years. He's not just a grappler. He's developed real striking fundamentals. His cage control is great, and his fight IQ is top tier. The guy doesn't really make a lot of dumb mistakes in the cage. And if you're talking about him moving up to 170, welterweight, I actually think he'll be fine there. He's not the biggest welterweight, far from it, but he's smart enough to build that style that works. A lot of cage wrestling probably, a lot of control, pace, grind, a lot of counter striking, and honestly, I see him winning that fight against JDM by decision if it happens, which most likely it is. Not a flashy blowout, not a highlight knockout, but a grindy 5-rounder where Islam's experience and composure carries him through it. And if he does that, then instead of talking about a losing streak, we're suddenly looking at Islam maybe going on a little run at 170. So yeah, it's a fun what if to picture him losing 2 or 3 in a row, but realistically, nah. I think it's going to be hard to see that happening. He's just that damn too good. Okay, with that being said, the next hot takes we got on the list is a spicy 3-parter. Number 1, Alex Pereira would beat DC in a 5-round fight. Number 2, Fedor wouldn't beat anyone in the current top 5 of the heavyweight division. Number 3, Islam Makhachev is a better boxer than Max Holloway. So I guess we'll start with the first one. First off, Alex versus DC. Listen, I love Alex. The guy's one of the scariest knockout artists we've ever seen. He's got that left hook that basically erases people on contact. But man, DC, I feel like people are forgetting who Daniel Cormier was in his prime. He's probably the most disrespectful GOAT of all time. People don't give him that shine because at the light heavyweight division, he was always number 2. He was always in John Jones' shadow, even when he was the guy, because John Jones messed up outside the octagon. And at heavyweight, though, that dude was a problem. I'm not gonna lie. And if you're telling me prime for prime, 5 rounds, DC versus Pereira, I'm sorry, bro, but DC's gonna ragdoll him. He'll dump Alex on his head repeatedly like he's tossing around a heavy bag. We've literally seen him pick up guys like Rumble Johnson, a way more explosive knockout artist than Pereira, and just neutralize them with wrestling. So yeah, can Alex land that left hook? Of course. Everyone in the arena would be holding their breath every time he throws it. But the odds of that actually connecting clean on DC before DC gets his hands on him, man, I wouldn't bet my paycheck on it. I'm telling you that right now. Now, let's move on to the Fedor one, because this is where it gets a bit messy. Fedor wouldn't beat anyone in the top 5. At first, I wanted to laugh it off, but honestly, I kind of agree with this one. And hear me out. Fedor in his prime was incredible. The speed, the blitzing combos, the ground and pound, the transitions. He was a way ahead of his time. But the heavyweight division today, as much as we clown on it for being shallow, the top 5 guys are different animals. I mean, take Tom Aspinall for an example. That guy is a nightmare matchup for Fedor. You know, they both have a similar blitz. I believe Tom is faster. Tom's too big, too more athletic. And I think he just shuts Fedor down in the first or second. Most likely the first round. Cyril Gane, on the other hand, that one would be interesting. Gane's movement could frustrate Fedor, but on the other hand, we've seen Gane fold against guys who pressure and blitz. Fedor could definitely catch him with a burst of speed, and honestly, that fight feels a lot closer than people think, but I still lean with Gane by a decision. Sergey Pavlovich, though, I actually think Fedor might catch Sergey. Pavlovich has no head movement. He just stands there with a brick wall, throwing nukes. Fedor's blitz back in the day, that could have absolutely clipped him. Curtis Blades is another tricky one. Curtis is massive. He's way bigger than Fedor has ever had to deal with. On paper, Blades should dominate with his wrestling, but let's be real. Blades gets cracked a lot. I can see a scenario where Blades is, coming in sloppy and then Fedor just starches him. And then there's Gelton Almeida. I think that one turns into a boring grinder fight. Gelton's probably lays on him for 3 rounds, wins a decision. I just think it's a different era, different physicality. Fedor is not getting submitted, but I don't see him out wrestling a guy like that either. Now that I think about it, Gelton's a little bit plotty, so I can also see Fedor catching him. So yeah, maybe Fedor steals 1 or 2 depending on styles, but him consistently being the crop of the top 5, I don't see it. Now for the big one, Islam Makhachev being a better boxer than Max Holloway. Yeah, I can't roll with that one. Now, don't get me wrong, Islam's striking has gone way better. His counter right hook, his timing, the way he sets stuff up with that grappling threat, it's legit. But you can't just throw him in the same boat as Max when we're talking about pure boxing. If these two fought in a straight-up boxing match, Max would box his ears off. Max's volume, his jab, his combo, his ability to roll up punches and keep throwing them back, that's elite level boxing for MMA. Islam doesn't touch that. The reason Islam striking works so well in MMA is because dudes are terrified of the takedown threat. You bite on a feint, you hesitate to let your hands go, and suddenly his jab looks cleaner than it actually is. That's the grappling tax you pay fighting him. So if we're talking about MMA boxing, meaning how effective your hands are with everything else, then yeah, you can make the argument that Islam's boxing looks better in that context because people are scared of the takedown. But strip that away, Max washes him in a pure striking match every single time. So the next hot take on the list is this version of Alex Volkanovski that fought Islam in their very first fight beats every other lightweight in history. Now, that's a fun one because if we're talking about Volk, the dude who went up to lightweight, undersized, short notice, fighting Islam in his prime, man, that version of Volk looked like a straight menace. He wasn't just surviving, he was pressing forward, throwing fast combos, landing clean shots, stuffing takedowns when he needed to, even putting Islam on his back in round 5. Like that version of Volk was ridiculous. And if you drop that Volk in a matchup with guys like Dustin Poirier or Justin Gaethje, yeah, I think Volk just beats the crap out of him. I mean, he's too damn quick for those dudes. His blitz, his boxing, his combinations, his ability to dart in and out, it's a nightmare for those big, slower lightweights. Dustin likes to sit down on the shots. Gaethje likes to plant and counter. Volk would just touch them up, move his head, slip inside, rip combos, and bounce out before they even know what's going on. Over 5 rounds, I'm taking Volk every single time. I think he butchers Charles Oliveira on the feet too. He's too hittable. He wouldn't be able to submit Alex Volkanovski, in my opinion. The only guy in the modern UFC, division right now who could give him potential problems is Arman Tsarukyan, mainly because of the high kicks. I'm not gonna lie. We know Alex's Volkanovski's trouble history with high kicks. Let's just say how it is. But besides that, he beats every other fighter in UFC history. Now, when you bring Khabib into it, that's where it gets real interesting because you already know if you ask the Weasel, he'll tell you Khabib will never lose to anyone in history of the sport. And look, I respect Khabib, monster of the era, 29-0, did everything what was asked from him, But I'm not gonna sit here like it's impossible for Volk to beat him. Khabib's resume is solid. McGregor, Dustin, Gaethje, Prime RDR, Prime Barboza. But let's be honest, he dipped out early. He retired before finding this new wave. He never got in there with the Arman Tsarukyan's, never had to deal with the Charles Oliveira at his peak, never ran into Volk himself. Meanwhile, Islam's out here taking every risk. I mean, he fought Volkanovski not once, but twice, and he decided to go to welterweight to fight JDM. That's a whole different level of ambition. And when you think about Volk specifically, his low center of gravity, those short little legs, the way he uses his base, he's insanely hard to hold down. Khabib was phenomenal at dragging people to the mat and keeping them there, but I think Volk will make him work harder than anyone Khabib's ever faced. If Khabib can't just blanket him and hold him, then what? On the feet, Volk has the advantage. Volk's jab, his boxing, his feint, his pace, all sharper than Khabib's striking ever was. So yeah, I can see Volk winning a decision. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but to me, it's crazy if you put Prime Volk in with any lightweight. I think he walks away the winner. And if you want to get bold, I'd even say that there's a legit case that he beats Khabib too. So the next hot take that we have in the list is Magomed Ankalaev will go down as the second greatest light heavyweight of all time. And you know what, man? I actually think it's very possible. Like, when you really sit back and look at the 205 division right now, nobody in this division is as smooth as Ank when it comes to counter boxing, speed, and just overall composure. The dude fights like he's downloading every move you make in real time. And once he gets the read, it's pretty much over. He's already on this crazy streak. And, you look around the division, who can really stop him? Honestly, there's only like two names that I can think about, and that's either Khalil Roundtree and Yuri Prochazka. And even then, I don't even think either one gets it done. Roundtree's dangerous because he has those blitz, he's fast, and he has like power. Don't get me wrong, he's not known for having one punch knockout power like that, but it can definitely become a couple exchanges that become very extremely competitive. But Ank's defensive and timing makes it a tough ask, in my opinion. He's not just going to stand there in the pocket waiting to eat shots. Yuri, on the other hand, he's chaos. He's always a factor too. That awkward style, that spinning attack, that unorthodox movement. But chaos usually gets solved by patience, and we've seen it get solved by Alex Pereira before. And if Ank is anything, he's patient. I really believe over the course of the 5 rounds, Ankalaev would eventually figure out Yuri and shut down the wildness and beat him up. So when you think about legacy, if Ankalaev runs through the crop of contenders and holds onto the belt for a while, yeah, man, he's going to be right there behind Jon Jones in the all-time conversation at 205. And let's be real, nobody's touching Jon at number 1. But number 2, Ank could absolutely lock that up if he stays the course. The only way I see him gain stop isn't even at light heavyweight. If he decides to test himself at heavyweight, that's where things can get a bit dicey because you're suddenly dealing with monsters who can end your night with just one shot, and size does matter at a point. But at 205, I don't think anyone beats him, not today or tomorrow. So moving on to the next hot take we got is Paddy Pimblett can beat Ilia Topuria. Now that's a hot take, man, like scorching hot. And honestly, I just don't see it. Out of every fighter at 155 right now, I'd say Paddy probably has the least chance of beating Topuria. And that's not just even hate, it's just style. Here's the problem. The only way Paddy can realistically win is if he drags Ilia and controls him on the mat. But Ilia's ground game is underrated. We've seen it. People sleep on his grappling because the knockouts are what stands out. But go back even to the Oliveira fights, who's one of the most dangerous submission artists of all time, got out-scrambled and controlled by Ilia for a bit. If Charles couldn't out-grapple this dude, Paddy sure as hell isn't. And striking-wise, it's not night and day. Paddy's striking is sloppy, it's still wide, still hittable. He's improved a bit, sure, but he's not anywhere close to Topuria's level of boxing. Ilia's sharp, he's compact, powerful, precise. If they stand even for 2 minutes, Paddy's chin is getting tested in a way it's never been tested before. Now, don't get me wrong, on paper, it's a huge fight. The UFC would love it. The hype, the trash talk, the build-up, that would sell like crazy. And Paddy deserves credit for riding his momentum to the top 10. He's doing his job in that sense, but if we're talking skill for skill, matchup for matchup, man, it's not close. Topuria starches him 9 out of 10 times. Alright, so for the last set of hot takes today, we actually got 4 of them from this guy. So let's go through them one by one. Ilia Topuria knocks out Arman Tsarukyan in under 3 rounds with a little adversity. Now, this one I can actually see happening. On paper, Arman Tsarukyan is the hardest matchup for Ilia Topuria at 155. He's got the wrestling, the scrambles, all that stuff. But the thing about Ilia is that he has the equalizer, the one clean shot, and it doesn't matter how much cardio you've got. Arman's defense isn't exactly airtight either. He tends to get clipped in exchanges, and Ilia's hands are fast and heavy. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but yeah, I can absolutely picture Topuria starching him within 2 or 3 rounds before he even gets into the deep water test, And number 2, Peter Yan is not a top 3 bantamweight of all time. Okay, this one's interesting. The argument is that Aljo, Cruz, Merab, maybe even Dillashaw are ahead of him, and I think that's the truth to that, to be honest. Don't get me wrong, Peter Yan's resume isn't bad. It's actually pretty freaking good. Figgy, Song Yadong, Corey Sandhagen, Aldo, Uriah Faber, those are solid wins, but when he ran into the highest level of guys, he didn't get it done. He lost to Aljo twice, got wrestled to death by Merab, lost to Sean O'Malley, but that was kind of a robbery. That's 3 big names, 4 L's. And yeah, you can argue that he faced better competition than Cruz in his time, but he never had that long reign or that aura of dominance. So as much as I love Yan's style, I can't really put him ahead of those names either. Low-key, that's a solid take. Number 3, Big Ank beats Prime John Jones. Now, this one's wild, but let's see how it plays out. Prime John Jones was a monster, super creative, crazy fight IQ, steroids, and just had every tool in the bag. Did I mention steroids? Ank, on the other hand, is a specialist. He has that patient counterboxing, super hard to take down, tight defense. Could he outbox John in the spot? Yeah, absolutely. John has terrible boxing defense. I think Ank's straight punches and timing could give Jones some problem. The difference is John has the ability to make the fight ugly, the clinches, the elbows, the kicks, the oblique stomps. Ank's not dealing with that in the current division. But size-wise, I get the point. Light heavyweights today are bigger and cleaner boxers compared to the guys back in the day that John was dominating, especially early on. If you put Ank in there, it's not crazy to think he could win 3 rounds and maybe sneak out a decision. Hell, we already saw Reyes arguably beat John Jones and he got robbed. So yeah, this one's a hot take, but I don't hate it. Number 4 and the last one, Khamzat loses his next 3 fight. Now, this one I can't rock with. I just don't see it. I think Khamzat beats everyone in the top 5 middleweight division right now. RDR, yeah, he's a tricky matchup, but Khamzat's wrestling, his pressure is just a nightmare for him. Amavov, good striker, but he doesn't have the physicality to stop Khamzat's grind. Anthony Hernandez, I'll be real with you, he's probably the hardest stylistic just because of his cardio, his pace, and his ability to scramble. But even then, I just think Khamzat's just too big, too skilled for this weight class. Unless he gasses out or he gets caught by something clean, I don't see anyone running through him anytime soon. But with all that being said, those are the hot takes you guys submitted in my comments. Obviously, I picked and choose my favorite. And honestly, yeah, it was a fun video. I'll probably do this sometime in the future again, do another post, But besides that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And if you guys did, please leave a like. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And like always, guys, I'll see you guys on my next one.